Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Us. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
What's up, my friends? My name is Seth Studley. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. And welcome to the show, you guys. We have over 500 episodes of our story, of other listener stories, questions, answers, all kinds of stuff, all aimed to help you help your marriage, to see your story in our story, because we've lived it for a minute. And we hope you enjoy the show. So let's dive straight into the topic today.
Yes, so today's topic is all about, I'm going to use this concept of like a straight and narrow path. You better turn that music down. I'm going to lose my mind. Sorry, Seth's got the control in his hand. It's driving me crazy.
Got the power.
So if you haven't seen the Indiana Jones movies, this is what I'm basing this concept off of. The Leap of Faith in The Last Crusade. Is that the name of that movie?
Yes, The Last Crusade.
The Indiana Jones movies are my favorite. If you haven't seen them, I'm sorry. Go watch them. You will love them. Everyone loves them.
I think so.
There's a scene in The Last Crusade where he has to go on the leap of faith. I don't want to give any spoiler alerts, so if you haven't watched it, pause the show and go watch it so you don't oh my gosh. So you don't, it doesn't spoil too much here, but.
If you haven't seen it, too bad. The movie's over 30 years old, so,
It's so good.
Here we go.
They're my absolute favorite.
Right.
But in that scene and how it applies to marriage is that he has to walk this really narrow bridge, but he actually can't see it. But
Right.
the point is that the bridge is really narrow. And that's what I want to use as this analogy for having a strong marriage, for being a good wife and a good husband, and having a healthy family. So, scene I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
There's a really skinny, narrow bridge. And you can even think of the analogies in, what are those people who used to build skyscrapers and those old photos where they would like walk on those I-beams?
Just the high iron workers?
Yeah. And you can't go to your left or your right. You will fall to your death in both Indiana Jones and if you're a high metal worker, right?
Yeah.
So that is the way that I communicate how to have a good life or a good marriage to my clients. So when we work with our high performance marriage coaching clients, I talk about this idea, and even in our own relationship, that it's a really narrow path of what is allowable, what is beneficial, what is healthy, and what is good. But it's an amazing path, but it's exceptionally narrow. And a lot of things fall outside of the scope of that path. They don't work. So you can't be like addicted to heroin and have a great marriage. You can't gamble away your life savings and have a great marriage. That actually falls outside of that narrow path.
Well, those are clearly extremes, right? And I have clients who have done both of those and other stuff too. But for, I'll say, kind of regular, everyday people, like if you're listening,
You don't know me.
you're probably an everyday person, just, okay, here we go, right? We don't struggle with monumental, massive things that is easy. Like, of course you can't, sell your body for meth and like expect a good marriage, right? That's extreme. But what is more difficult in this is, okay, just the normal everyday marriage, me and Melanie, okay, what do we have to eliminate? What do we have to guard ourselves against? In all kinds of stuff, right? And there's so many analogies. We could go Indiana Jones, we could go Bible analogies, we could go diet, we could go outdoors hiking. It doesn't matter. Like we spend a lot of time outdoors, me probably more because I'm a hunter and stuff like that. But I've been on trails or bridges. Remember the Carrick-a-Red Bridge?
Carrick-a-Reed Bridge in Ireland.
Right. Is that a narrow path? It scared the hell out of me.
Oh, it was the best.
Well, it was scary, but that is a narrow path that if you go on this side, you die, fall into the ocean.
Sleeping with the salmon.
The North Atlantic Ocean, and fall on that side, same thing, right? So, but for everyday people, probably, for me and Melanie, for you guys listening, you have to eliminate, am I super sarcastic to my wife or husband? Am I critical to my wife or husband? Do I spend money that we haven't agreed on, that you and I haven't talked about? Do I ignore her when I drive fast? She says, hey, please slow down, and makes me car sick. I get over it. You're fine. Do I dismiss her? Do I get mad at small things? Am I annoyed? Am I stressed out? Am I letting anxiety, depression, overwhelmment, taxes, bills, kids, dog crap on the floor? Am I letting all that stuff mess here? Because those are things off of the side of the path that we're letting come into and skewing our vision and making us fall wonky.
You could also think of Lord of the Rings, the little lights in the marsh, the dead marshes.
How so?
that you fall off the path and you get sucked in and you become a little light of your own. Remember? It's so creepy.
That is creepy.
Super creepy. But I want to talk about this idea. We were talking about it earlier on a phone call with a bunch of guys we were talking with. And sometimes we hear this, like what we know we should do to have a good marriage. Like, well, I know I should be nice. I know I should use love languages, blah, 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 blah. But what we don't know is what it takes to not have a good marriage, what falls off the path, right? Like what doesn't fit. And I like to use this analogy again, if you're thinking of like Indiana Jones on that super narrow bridge. Again, it's probably a foot wide or foot and a half maybe that he's on, and on literally underneath him is death on every other side. But so he can only walk on this like foot wide path across this big gap, like a chasm thing that he's got to cross. And so I imagine standing on that bridge and be like, okay, this is like the healthiest thing I can do, like being kind, being loving, being having boundaries, not, being like rational, competent, kind, all of those things, caring. So then I imagine like for some reason, the things that would pull us off of that path kind of drop from the sky, but they're like, you have to reach out your arm. Almost think of that show Wipeout, where you're trying to like reach something just slightly too far. But you're trying to reach for something like sarcasm. So let's say that I'm walking on that narrow path. Seth and I are having a conversation, and all of a sudden I have the thought to be sarcastic to him. Well, of course you think that because, well, you're blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I'm really mean. That falls outside of the scope of my narrow bridge. And if I try to do it, what's going to happen? If I try to catch it, what's going to happen?
You'll fall off.
It'll knock me off of balance.
It'll take you somewhere you don't want to go.
Yes, that's exactly right. And again, on either side, the left or the right, are things that are going to drop us off of balance. And so
I was actually thinking, okay, real talk. We had a conversation about this, me and Melanie, not recorded, in the kitchen, or I don't know, in our bedroom, like 2 days ago, a day and a half ago, and talking about this narrow path, because we are continually trying to improve ourselves, improve our marriage, improve our business, improve our family, and also for us as Christians to glorify God in that, right? And there are things you can do, and there are things that you still can do, but they're not beneficial to you, right? Paul says everything is permissible. We can do anything and everything in the world.
You're permitted, you're allowed.
Not everything is beneficial. And I did this team building exercise a long time ago where we took like maybe 8-foot 2x6s boards, right? And we had like 5 of them or something. And we each had to walk on them. They were just on the dirt, so it wasn't like you fall off or anything, but they were on the dirt. And you have to go by people and stuff like that. And the point was to get to the other side kind of thing. And I was thinking, wow, what a cool actual intervention. This is some like my experiential clinical background here. An intervention like, okay, I'm going to go to Home Depot. Home Depot, not Lowe's, by the way.
This podcast is brought to you by. Just kidding, it's not.
No, it's not. But if you want to.
I wish.
I'm going to go to Home Depot, get an 8-foot 2x6, right? And you can walk on it. It's a little smaller than your foot, but you can walk on it. You got to pay attention. It's not like huge. You can just run. And actually, on one side, put love. Like you could put all the fruits of the Spirit, patience, kindness, love, love, all this stuff. What you want to see more of in your relationship, attunement. I know Melanie. She knows me. Listening, kindness, all this stuff. And that is the narrow path. And you have to, you actually have to look down at your feet and go, oh, I'm
walking in love.
That's right. Walking on love. And on the converse, you could flip that board over and put all the things that you don't want to perpetuate from your family of origin or my family of origin on the board, right? The other side of that, the other side of the path, because you are free as anything to walk that path as well.
I'm not sure what the other side of the board is. Is that like
everything that you don't want?
Well, that's the cliff sides, not the other side of the board.
Well,
you changed our analogy.
Well, no, I mean it's all there.
So if you're a chameleon and you can hang upside down, you can walk on the bottom of the board.
Or a gecko,
a lizard person.
No thanks. You know what I'm saying? You can actually do that and like write down. I was thinking of doing that very thing, but what you're saying is, and you guys, this stuff is difficult too. It's not like, ooh, yeah, I'll get a board and put love and kindness and happiness on there and just, that'll be easy. No, like it really counts when it really counts. Say that we just, I'm thinking of one of your favorite songs, the Honeycutters, when my baby's in the money, treats me right, right? So just thinking like, oh, okay, we just got paid. We just got our taxes back or something. Oh, it's easy. Let's go have a dinner. It's easy to love on you then, right? That is easy. And sure, it counts. But if you really think about it, when it really counts is when you are down and out, when you're stressed.
The lyrics are, when he's broke, he treats me awful mean.
That's right. When you are taxed and maxed beyond where you want to be, do you choose to walk that path? Do I choose to treat you with kindness, love, understanding, all that stuff? And if we go into sports analogies and stuff like that, I was listening to a show yesterday, and one of the guys was saying, yeah, I was on a team when I was in high school or something, and we just waxed this team. We beat them like by 40 points and stuff, and we were thought, yeah.
That was our pastor.
Oh, it was at church. Oh, it was at church yesterday. And the team players thought, yeah, we got this. And the coach took them back in the locker room after the game and said, you guys didn't do nothing. Of course you should have beat them. They suck. They're like 0-10.
He drilled them harder.
There is nothing great about what you guys did.
Right.
So them. That was easy. Yeah. So when you're down and out, when you're in the ninth inning, when it's 4th and 10, right, in the fourth quarter for football, that is when it counts. When you come home from work and you had the worst day ever at work and there's dog crap on the thing and your wife just hits you with all kinds of questions, what kind of man are you going to be? How are you going to show up? You know what I'm saying? If you had a bad day at whatever and your husband wants a hug or something, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to go, or what?
I'm going to be like,
well, you can.
I could.
That's
That's
permissible.
an option.
Does that get you where you want to be?
It's not beneficial.
A week
I'm
from now,
allowed to do it, but it sure ain't going to help.
You're allowed to do it, right? So now onto the path, and also, and I don't care.
Oh, geez.
We talk about this all the time, and okay.
You don't
Pull back the jerk.
You don't need to say this every time that you talk about the Bible. Is that what you're going to do?
Nope. I'm talking about 75 Hard because just today is day 50 of 75 Hard. Love it or hate it, it doesn't matter. It works amazing for me. It keeps me on track in every way. It is very simple. There are 6 elements of what to do only. And if you do not do those elements,
you fail.
You fail, right? The path for 75 Hard and other programs like it is very narrow. There are 6 things that you have to do every single day. And if you stick to that path, then you can say that you completed it, right? And it's not just about completing it. It's who you become and how you grow through the 75 days and what you decide to do or not to do on day 76 when you've already completed it, right? And there's so many analogies in that we could go through. But the point is, and I was talking to some very close people in my life, and I says to him, you know, Melanie always says to know something and not do it, to not implement it, to not live it, perhaps doesn't mean to know in the first place.
Well, to know and not do is to not know.
Right. So I'm just like breaking it down. Like, okay, to know something, and also in the Bible it talks about sin, shortcoming, sin is to know to do something and not do it or not give it or not whatever. That is wrong, right? Oh, I shouldn't do this. Oh, well, I don't care. Boom, do it. That's wrong, right? So is that path small? Is that path? Does that path have a billion colors to choose? Does that have a billion variables? Well, if this is the circumstance, then I can do this and this caveat to this. What is it?
Narrow.
Do it or don't do it, just like Yoda says, right?
Or Kung Fu Panda, noodle, don't noodle.
Right.
Master Oogway.
Do it or don't do it.
Well, and I want to use the words of, what is his name? Alex Hermosi. Is that his name? He talked about the definition of learning in a talk that our friend Paul shared with us. But Alex Hermosi talks about learning being like you learn a new thing that 100% means you should have a different outcome. If you've learned something, that gives you everything you need to have a different outcome. If you learn something and don't have a different outcome, that means you didn't really learn it, right? Having the head knowledge and not applying it.
You're on your way to learning it.
Right. And so I think that there's a lot to be said for just that. Like knowing and not doing is like not knowing. Like you might as well just not know it if you're not going to do it. And I want to use a couple other analogies that we talked about, like in our conversation in our bedroom when we were talking about this bridge idea. I have to say this little caveat really quickly. So Seth is married to a preacher. I will be a preacher one day. I'll be the next Joyce Meyer. And unfortunately, I just don't have a congregation to preach to yet. So he's my congregation. He's got to hear all my sermons but they're usually in the form of like arguments, just so that you know. So now we are all on the same
Lord works
page.
in mysterious ways.
But I was talking about this idea of this narrow path and using the Indiana Jones example of like you fall off of one side or another. And so what I don't like is that people will use the thing, they'll be like the pathway to success. And they're like, what people think it is. And it's like a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
But then what it is in real life. And it's like this scraggly, crazy, crisscrossy up and down line.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish that it was clearer because the pathway to success is always that you're still walking at the same direction, at the same target, whatever. And it's more of like an up and down versus like an all over crazy map. You know what I mean? Like I've been thinking of it like 3-dimensionally, not just like up and down, like scaling.
Not
Think
like
of like
2D.
climbing up a Mount Rainier.
Mm-hmm.
You're going up Mount Rainier, but you go up and down and up and down. Like you kind of have to go back and forth and stuff, but you have one determined goal. To get to that top of that mountain, you don't take a left at Albuquerque, right?
That's true, Bugs Bunny.
You don't like meander through the meadows. You go, no, like that won't get me there, right? And another thought too, like Seth recently went hunting with a bunch of awesome guys in Maui. And the goal is to get axis deer. Like that's the only goal. You're not getting the gear, like making sure you know how to bow hunt, make sure you have the right bow. You're not getting your tickets and flying all the way out there to like look at rabbits while you're trying to get an axis deer. You are only looking at what?
The end goal.
The end goal.
But
and
well,
wait. And so the analogy I use, and I think, I was going to say, what is it called? A scope, the little thing that you look through. But what's it called on a bow and arrow? I don't know.
Peep sight.
Peep sight. I was going to call it a whisker biscuit. That's a different thing.
That is a part of a thing, but yeah.
But so when you're shooting a gun or a bow, you look through the scope of a gun and the peep sight, apparently, of a bow. And that shows you the line, the trajectory from where you are to where your target is. What's your target? A deer, an elk, or whatever. And do you want your arrow to take a left at Albuquerque once you shoot it? Will that be helpful?
And by the way, an arrow looks so funny when
it flies. It goes.
I've hit something and it skidded and then just went like a rocket that way. You're like,
that's scary.
Oh, it's really scary because it's going a billion miles.
Yeah, and it kills everything.
It could, yeah.
But I want you to think about that. Like again, think of that narrow bridge where Indiana Jones. We're standing on the one side. We're looking at the only place that he wanted to go was the doorway on the other side, because on the other side of that was Le Holy Grail, right? And so he didn't go, oh, well, I'll just probably meander to the right here and I'll shuffle down. Like he went, no, this is the space between where I'm standing and the target that I'm aiming for. But here's the thing. Most couples, most people don't have a target. They don't have a thing that they're aiming for. So what the hell is their, how do you know what your narrow path is if you don't have a target?
Right. So that brings me to a point of, in the analogy of Indiana Jones, he didn't, on the other side of the chasm, there weren't like 5 doors that he could
had to choose from.
He had perfect clarity of, I need to go there. That is the only spot to go. That is where, on the other side, that's where the knight, the grails were, and stuff like that, right? So he had, and in this case, in marriage, it's very important to have a shared vision, which we talk about in high performance marriage coaching. Having a shared vision, but in a marriage, that shared vision on a couple things that can maybe be different with lifestyle and stuff like that. I like to hunt, you like to, travel, whatever, that's different. But the shared vision is we can do it together and we both support one another. But also the shared vision is we stay married and kick ass as best we can. That is the door. That is the one door. It's not, well, I think I'll stay married if I feel like it, or if she does right, I'll hang around.
Keep talking.
Not anything like that. It is one vision, one sight, one goal, one purpose, right? Just like hunting. I wasn't looking for cats. I shoot a cat. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I wasn't looking for cats or dogs or rats. I was looking for axis deer, right? Axis deer with the spots and they're brown
They're cute.
fur, right? That's what I was looking for. Indiana Jones was looking for the one door to the one room that he wanted to go to. Again, there wasn't 5 doors with 50 rooms behind each thing. Which one should I go to? And so often we can flip-flop in what we want, what we think we want, which way we should go, where we should do this or that. So it's very important to have that shared vision. Going back to that thing. And you got my drumsticks for some reason. What's this?
I did.
What analogy is this?
Visual learning right now. This is going to be the best ever. I'm really excited about this. So Seth used to be a drummer. Play us
some,
a little flam diddle.
No.
Ready? I'll do it. You do it.
Oh boy.
For real. Let's see. I feel
That was like the nothing, whatever.
The lamest thing ever.
Right.
Just kidding. So I got these drumsticks, and if you're not watching, I'm sorry. Imagine I'm holding 2 drumsticks. So this is the narrow bridge, like the Indiana Jones vibes things we're talking about. Here's the thing. When you are a married human being, there's 2 bridges. I have a bridge and Seth has a bridge.
Come on.
And guess what typically happens? The more, I'm going to say it's probably usually the woman is like, this is what our bridge looks like. What do you think? Does that sound accurate?
I neither agree nor disagree. Yes, it does.
Okay. So usually the woman is the one that's more attuned to like, we need to be doing something about our marriage relationally, and she'll think about all these things and she'll talk about it, and she'll want to be the one manipulating the bridge, the shared bridge. Now, here's the cool thing. When you take both of our sticks, our bridges here, and you merge them together, what happens?
But it's stronger.
It's stronger, and it's a little bit bigger. In fact, it's a little bit wider. It's a little easier to walk on.
Easier to walk on. It can hold more weight. You can bring other people along with you.
Yep.
I.e. family.
So the strength of taking our two shared goals and putting them together is awesome. But guess what? What if our bridges are actually more like that? If you're not watching, I'm pointing them sort of different directions.
So now they're kind of intersecting.
So how am I gonna make our one bridge stronger if the angles don't actually line up? So how is that gonna work?
You can't. There'll be an intersection, but then if you keep on going, you'll meet in the middle at one point, and then what happens?
You'll veer away from each other,
You
right?
continue to get farther apart.
So here's the dealio. We have to figure out how to get our bridges individually to actually be lined up on the same target. And this is way easier than it sounds, okay? So I believe, again, that there's like a divine order of love. Think about it just like, what's a good dad? Just throw out some words about what's a good dad.
A good dad? You tell me.
He's kind, he's loving, he's patient, he's strong, he's brave, he helps. What's a good friend? They're kind, they're loving, they're patient, they're brave, they're strong, they help. What's a good mom? She's kind, she's loving, she's patient, she's brave. I mean, this is like the fruit of the spirits in the Bible. There is nothing complicated here. But here's the deal. Sometimes we have clients where the husband wants to be like sort of kind, or actually like doesn't even care about kindness at all. And he's just sort of like an a-hole and wants to just get his way all the time. But the wife is trying to point it towards kindness, goodness, like all of that stuff. So they're literally, their bridges will never intersect and become stronger together. They'll never merge into one healthy, strong bridge together. So there needs to be a conversation on like, hey, where are you even aiming? And this is not a thing to judge. So like we're not trying to manipulate our spouse to fit with us, but we got to figure that part out first. And that's where I think like extreme ownership comes in. Like you and I can't have a really strong bridge that our whole family can walk on if I'm just eating bonbons all day long and shopping on, what is it that your grandma buys our jewelry on? JTV. Just getting everybody, Crimsonite on JTV.
Right.
I don't even know if that's the thing. You know what I'm talking about? So what are your thoughts just on that, the first part of that? Like, how do we want to build our own bridges?
Well, sometimes, and this is coming from a psychological standpoint.
Mine wasn't, by the way. Mine wasn't psychological.
No, I mean like more
ahead.
a clinical. It's like oftentimes we go, oh, well, I still have to maintain my individuality. And, oh, well, who am I? What's my truth kind of thing? And of course, that is true. But a lot of times, and man, this is so true just in relationships and how things are going these days. Oh, well, they didn't validate my personal truth or validate or get on board the path that I'm on. And people go, oftentimes they don't look at themselves. They look at the other person and go, oh, well, they're not validating me. So I don't know. They must be wrong. but rarely did they say, oh, well, my path is pretty stupid. It's pretty goofy looking, right? Because
like, what does my path look like? Did I make it 700 feet wide so I could eat bonbons all day and say that I'm in shape?
And you're just trying to find your personal truth in this and this, and you're doing anything and everything except maybe sacrificing some stuff. You know what I'm saying? So don't fall into that trap. Maybe your spouse is saying something to you that you need to listen to, right? Who talking with some friends, and marriage is like the great crucible, right? It'll burn the crap out of you in order to purify you and all that, like the dross.
What's a crucible?
A crucible? It's like a thing where you put metal in and then you furnace it and melt it. That's a crucible.
A vessel of a very refractory material used for melting and calcining, a substance that requires a high degree of heat.
Don't you know about alchemy and metallurgy?
Calcining?
I don't know what that means, but anyway. And then all the stuff, the crap rises to the top, you sweep it off, and then you get refined with the pure.
This says in the Bible, a bowl-shaped instrument used to hold metals such as gold and silver for the refining process. A crucible had to withstand the high temperatures needed to melt out the impurities within the metals. Materials such as clay or stone were used as crucibles.
Right. So oftentimes marriage is the crucible. You and I are in the crucible. We're just getting tested and strengthened. But through that, when you come out on the other side, it's like, oh, you have something really I don't know, 24 pure gold. Right? Pure nard. There's no imperfections. It's solid. It's like on Forged in Fire.
I was just going to say, if you're a Forged in Fire fan.
When their blades break, right, you can always see the little crack, the little chink in the thing that maybe wasn't visible to the naked eye.
They might have some glinting or rolling.
That's right. It's like, ooh, a cold shunt.
What?
Cold shunt.
I didn't know what you
said. It has something in there, right? And oftentimes people go, oh, well, I just can't. This is too hard, blah, blah, blah. And then they are giving up something that could have been awesome, right? And trust me and Melanie have been through a lot of crucibles and probably still will be. But we are being refining one another over and over and over again, which is a good thing.
So
right?
I want to keep on with that crucible analogy, but I have to say the thing that won't leave my head because it's funny. So I hope that you watch Forged in Fire because it's one of the better shows ever. And the old host, Will Willis, I know, I'm imagining to say, when you're going to face a trial and you're getting ready and you know that the pressure's rising, just imagine, bladesmiths in the back. And that's your call to do right. And again, like on Forged in Fire, I know we're using a bunch of analogies, but we do this on purpose because people need visuals. We think in pictures. Most people think in pictures, and it's helpful. So thinking of building, making a sword, right? Bladesmithing, being a smithy. You're not going to, like, if the requirements of the challenge are a full tang, you're not going to, and the blade must be 16 inches long. You're not going to make a 3-inch like
PP
pocket knife, right? We won't hit the requirements. If you need to make a big sword, you also aren't going to take it out of the furnace too soon and quench it when it's not hot enough. You know, like there are things that if I do this, it won't work. Right. But again, so many people aren't taught. We're not taught this way. We hear of this idea of a straight and narrow path. We know what the fruit of the spirits are, or like what love language we should be using. But what we don't know is what won't work. Like we don't know the parameters of what's outside of that. So I want to spend some time exploring, like, if you want to have, okay, let's just say everyone who's tuned into our show probably wants a healthy, happy marriage.
Yes.
They probably want to have fun with their spouse. They probably really want to have a great time with their kids as well. And they want to have a fulfilling relationship. Sound fair to everyone?
Right.
Everyone want that? Raise your hand if that's what you want, right? Pretty much everyone, except for the mean people in the group. They won't raise their hand because they're mad. Just kidding. So in order to get a fun, happy, fulfilling, healthy relationship, what's the straight and narrow path? What things do we have to do? But more importantly, what things can we not do? What will not get us there? Let's answer the not get us there part.
Well, that's dependent on, I guess, well, I was going to say each person, but
no, it's not. I mean, it's really not. It's
that's
so
true.
Simple. We're overcomplicating everything.
There's a million things.
Let's say 2 of them.
I don't know. If it doesn't, how about this? As Christians, if it doesn't glorify God, or you wouldn't be proud to show the world
Oh, yeah.
your thoughts or deeds or whatever,
Uh-huh.
then that might be something you should steer away from.
Right. And I guess maybe a clearer way to say that is like if it's something that you would have to keep hidden. So that could be like anything from disrespecting your husband. If you don't want your friends to see you do that, then don't do it, because it isn't on that narrow path. If you don't want God to know that you called your wife a B word, don't do it. It's not on the narrow path.
How about this? And this will be good for the listeners. So you're listening to the show right now. Would you talk to your wife or husband, or treat your wife or husband in a way that if it was recorded on our iPhone and sent to us, and we played it on the YouTube channel and played it on the podcast, and said, this is Steve Smith from Little Rock, Arkansas. He has 2 kids and his wife's name is Sharon.
He's talking to her on Sunday after they came home from church.
So this is Sunday at 2:31 p.m. and they just finished lunch, and this is what happened. Boom, play. And then the audio is all weird, and you can hear it, and you can tell it's not like live like this broadcast is, you can hear from the audio. And would you be embarrassed, proud? Would you want to show the world that, or would you want to say, dang it, who got that footage? I can't believe this is playing right now.
Would you want to show your kids
I'm
that?
so embarrassed, right? So that's a pretty good litmus test, I would say.
Yeah, that's great. If you can't, well, here's the thing too. Some people are that way publicly, and nobody's got the gall to tell them to not be that way because they're frustrating humans. If that makes any sense. But anyway.
But folks like that most likely may not listen to a show like this. So.
But I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like, again, I want to use this analogy of we'll talk about like bow hunting or like
hold on.
Gun
but
hunting.
Everybody has bad days and bad seasons too, right? So we're not saying, oh yeah, we've never,
no,
made a mistake or done something idiotic or stupid or selfish or sinful or anything like that. We are not saying that, right? But say that you did something and it was played on our show and thousands of people listened to it, and you could go, okay, I got to call in the show and like explain myself and say, you know what? I did that. My name is Steve Smith from Little Rock, Arkansas, and last Sunday at 2:31 p.m., yes, I did that. And I see exactly where I was wrong. And I want to publicly apologize to my wife first, and then like repent or whatever you need to do and go, yeah, I am working on that. But from family of origin, I've been struggling with this. I'm in a men's group. I'm doing counseling. I'm doing all this stuff and listening to podcasts, and I'm trying to, man. So that's where we are. That is exactly where you need to be. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But, and I want to go back to this idea of like having a target, shooting a gun, right? Again, it's the same concept as the bridge. It's a straight line from where you are to where you want to be. That bullet can't go 2 inches to the left. If it goes 2 inches to the left, it's not going to hit your target, right? You can't veer 2 inches off that bridge. You'll fall to the bottom. And so we have to know, like, what is it that we're aiming for? And one of the things that, again, I don't think people understand enough, because you brought this up, you made me think of this. Like when the dude from Little Rock, Arkansas going, well, I know it's just family of origin. I know I messed up. I shouldn't have, whatever. How many more times do you want to mess up? Answer that question. How many more times do you not want to hit your actual target? How many more axis deer do you not want to hit, but you want to shoot arrows at? Tell me.
0.
How many more like elk do you not want to hit, but you want to shoot bullets at?
I've done that before, and it's not fun. It's embarrassing.
It's
so
also
0.
embarrassing when people lose their temper, call their partner terrible names, have to apologize. Like,
so in that, you have to practice, right? There's work. There's work to be done.
Right. And I want to tell people, you need to be 2 inches off the mark, not 200 feet off the mark. When we're practicing, it's not like, I just imagined Yosemite Sam, like holding up a gun and then shooting it like way over here. Like not even near the target at all. But we need to always have our focus be at what our end goal is. So again, I'm gonna say this again, and I want you to throw out some ideas with this. If you want a healthy, happy marriage, you cannot use you statements about your spouse. You never clean up. You're mad at me all the time. You think I'm stupid. You're not nice. You can't do that anymore. No more you statements, right? You also can't hide anything. Really just stop hiding things. Stop hiding porn, stop hiding spending, stop hiding side relationships, stop hiding gambling. What other things? Stop hiding what other things? Your feelings?
Feelings, yeah. That's a big one. But no more making excuses or justifying your untoward behavior.
Mm-hmm. So if you're like a jerk, you can't say, well, I only was a jerk because you're so dumb, or
exactly. Well, I wouldn't have gotten mad if you hadn't of XYZ, right? We hear that language in kids all the time. Now, kids are learning, right? They're developing. They're children, especially teenagers. They're kids, but
adults don't behave like that.
Adults don't behave like that, right?
Actually,
because then you begin to justify. You just justify it away.
Adults who say they want a happy marriage and do what it takes to have a happy marriage don't act that way, right? So think about anyone that you know that you esteem, that has self-control, that has that, all of that stuff. What don't they do? Ask yourself what they don't do. So if someone you admire has a really, really great marriage, you will unsurprisingly find out that they never berate their spouse. They never just like, you freaking idiot, I can't believe whatever. That's not a healthy marriage. So they actually don't do those things. So they don't have to worry about them because they're not doing them, right? So again, what other things, if you're trying to walk this really narrow path, what things can you not do? What things fall off of the boundaries of that path?
I don't know. I mean, it's too wide. I can't even think. Like, okay, you can't text other women.
Yeah, that is helpful.
I mean, that's kind of
it's not
random to me, but I guess
people
I don't know,
do this all the time, so it's not random.
You can't lie to your spouse about money. You can't say, "Hey, I'm going to spend $50," and then
spend 150.
Spend 150. You can't say, "I'll be home at 2," and then come home at 3:30 because,
right?
Just because you know.
Yep.
Well, so and so wanted me to see his new golf clubs or something. Okay, that's fine. Call and let your person know, whatever. Right. You can't drink all the time. You can't, it's just like if I want to get in shape or something, like that. Okay, I can't buy Ben & Jerry's ice cream and bring it home. Talking real talk.
Right. And at some level, it's like really, you just can't be addicted to anything. Like it's not helpful. Right? I'm not going to be addicted to cigarettes. That's not going to be helpful. I'm not going to be addicted to online shopping or TikTok or whatever. Like these things aren't helpful. Right. And again, all I'm telling you is this is a balanced life in general for everyone. It is literally the divine order of health, love, all of it. There's nothing surprising here. It's just that a lot of us aren't taught this stuff. You're not taught that you can't eat everything out of a like sealed bag and expect to be healthy. It's not healthy.
Right.
God made carrots, not Cheetos. Right? So you can't pick a Cheeto out of the ground. You pick a carrot out of the ground. So it's just a reframing. Like that falls off of that falls outside of that narrow path. If I want to be healthy in all like heart health, brain health, gut health, physical health, weight, I can't eat Cheetos every day. I can't drink a venti soy vanilla latte with 3 pumps of white mocha every day. Yeah, that sounds like the biggest stomach ache I could ever think of creating out of a drink.
Right. But there was a time when you drank stuff like that.
White mochas.
You know what I'm saying? So
and fudge rounds.
There was a time when I drank all the time. There was a time where we did whatever we wanted to, right? But the identifying of, first of all, I think everybody has a wake-up point of, man, I can't do that anymore. It's like with running up credit card debt or spending money or never exercising, or having bad sleep hygiene, like just looking at blue screens from the second you wake up to the second you go to bed or before bed and all that stuff. There comes a time where you realize, man, I need to take an inventory and this just isn't working. But the reality of it is we've done this thing or a host, dozens of things for so long now that we've built neural pathways and habits and rituals around all this stuff. Talk to people about this all the time. We have to break those things. But what the hardest thing is, we always fail and go, oh, well, just this one time, or I got a promotion, so boom, 12-pack tonight, or something like that. It's like that just doesn't work. So you have to be willing to go through the very, very, very high levels of discomfort, of inconvenience, to be honest, of
rewiring your brain,
of reacting rather than responding. We say this stuff in the men's group all the time. That's why they don't call them first reactors. Come up on a scene. What do I do?
They reacted first.
They respond.
Right.
Because, what are they? They're trained. They have accountability. They have other people who have walked the path before them.
They have a narrow path of what is acceptable for them to do. And you're glad when you're the one getting pulled out of the car and an EMT comes up or whatever, you are glad that they have training, that they're disciplined, that they didn't take a left at Albuquerque. Like you're glad because you benefit from that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think there's so much to be said for that. And I think too, I want to say this kind of as we wrap up. If this is the first time you've thought about this idea, ask yourself what's on the other end of that narrow path. Like, what is your goal? What are you aiming for? It's probably going to sound the same for all of us, right? Healthy, happy, fun, fit, flirty, all these fun things. Like,
let me interrupt you.
By all means.
Oh, really? Cool.
I wasn't like in the middle of saying something really important.
Okay, sorry. Fun, flirty, go ahead.
So when you decide that you're going to aim for a target, you must also know that as you break away these patterns that you're used to, whether it's a thought pattern of thinking of like, well, I just don't want to do it right now. So, that thought pattern or the physical pattern or the whatever, it's all going to be uncomfortable. Growth comes when we are uncomfortable, when we're in the discomfort. That's actually your zone of proximal development. If you can tolerate the discomfort of growth, you will grow. If you cannot, you won't.
Right.
So you have to be like, this isn't normal. It doesn't feel right. Yes, keep tolerating it, but I don't like it. It's not what I would normally do. Yes, keep going, but it feels weird. It feels bad even. I know, keep going, but I don't want to go. Oh, hey, look, you're on the other side. You did it. You didn't yell at your wife. You didn't call her a B. You grew. You got past the discomfort. Even if it took 2 years, it should only take 20 minutes. But if it took 2 days, that's the process of narrowing your bridge. You're going to have to drop all the crap you've carried around, whether that's literally, it could be physical weight that you carry around, bad eating habits, bad sleeping habits, bad language, bad thoughts. All of those things are burdens. It's like carrying a huge trying to think of like a cartoon version of someone with a backpack on that's giant. All I can think of is Cusco for some reason. And I don't know why, but like thinking of carrying something that you cannot carry across that bridge, it will make you fall. Those things you have to let go of them. They have to fall off the edges. They're not worth taking to the other side. They can't survive on the other side. Again, Cheetos does not fit into your wellness plan. It never will.
Cheetos aren't on the path.
No, they're not.
Right? Calling your wife a bee is not on the path.
Like stonewalling, not on the path. Ignoring their needs, not on the path. Saying you statements. You're an idiot. You're so dumb. See, you're so mean. See, everyone agrees. Not on the path. It's never going to work.
Saying I statements. That's on the path.
Well, unless I think you're dumb.
No. Taking accountability for your own actions. That's on the path.
Man, I just want to record a whole other episode now. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Using love before anger. That's on the path. Stuff like that. And if you realize, so that I know we're kind of going all over, but what I was going to say is, well, let's save it for the next show. So
yeah, we can't. You got to go. But wait. If you need help finding your path, walking on your path, clarity on your path, do high performance marriage coaching with us. We have a spot opening. We have 2 spots opening in September, and we want you to be in those spots. Okay. So if you really want this and you're ready, we don't want to work with people that are babies. So just like, if you're a baby, don't reach out. Send your strong friends to us. They're better to work with. Good. They have better outcomes. But for real, go to anatomyofus.com, hit the coaching tab. You can apply for high performance marriage coaching. We do not accept every applicant for a number of reasons, but if you need help with this, we will help you with this. We know how it feels. We know what it takes to do all of this work because we've done all of this work. So if you need help, get it from us.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening. If this has been helpful, email us at, just let us know. Shoot us a DM.
Rate and review our podcast.
Yeah, rate and review the podcast. Go follow us on Anatomy of Us Anatomy of Us Pod on Instagram. Email us at hello@anatomyofus.com. Thank you guys so much. Share the show with your friends. Peace out.
All right, love you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Anatomy of Us. This podcast is produced by my mom, Melanie Studley, and hosted by my dad, Seth Studley. Our show is edited and published by our producer, Reba Hansen, from Creative Media Support. Special thanks to our Patreon members that get an extra episode every week. Thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.